Story 1. The Cargo That Watches. The security cameras inside my trailer show the cargo moving when I'm not looking, but every time I check physically, the pallets are exactly where they should be. I've reviewed 73 hours of footage. Boxes sliding across the floor, pallets rotating, straps coming undone and retying themselves. The movement follows a pattern. The cargo arranges itself into symbols, different configurations each night. Last night, the pattern spelled words in the camera feed. The message said, "We're not cargo. We're passengers. You're transporting us somewhere we've been trying to reach for decades. Don't open the trailer until we arrive. If you do, you'll see what we really are, and you won't be able to drive anymore." My name is Jackson Reeves, 51 years old, 26 years driving trucks. March 15th, 2025, I picked up a specialty load in Newark. High-security freight, destination classified until delivery. The broker paid triple rate and required me to install security cameras inside the trailer, monitoring the cargo continuously. They claimed it was valuable electronics, needed constant surveillance for insurance purposes. I installed 4 cameras covering every angle of the trailer interior. The cargo was loaded under supervision. 26 identical wooden crates, each about 4 feet cubed, heavy but not impossibly so. The loading crew worked in silence, wore full coverage suits despite mild weather. They secured everything with military precision, double-strapped, corner-blocked, load-locked. Professional operation. The delivery point wasn't disclosed. I'd received GPS coordinates after departure, updated every 100 miles. Security protocol, the broker explained. The destination changes based on real-time factors. Just follow the GPS and don't open the trailer. I departed Newark at 11 p.m. heading west on I-80. The GPS gave me the first waypoint, somewhere in Pennsylvania. I settled into the drive, checking the camera feed on my dashboard monitor every few minutes. The cargo remained stable, perfectly arranged, exactly as loaded. At 2:17 a.m. crossing into Pennsylvania, I glanced at the monitor during a routine check. One of the crates had moved. Not much, maybe 3 inches to the left, but it had definitely moved. I pulled over immediately, went to the back of the trailer. Unlocked the doors, inspected the cargo. Everything was exactly as loaded. The crate I'd seen move was in its original position, straps tight, no evidence of shifting. I checked the camera recording, rewound to when I'd seen the movement. On playback, the crate slid smoothly to the left, paused for 5 seconds, then slid back to its original position. All while I was driving. No bumps, no turns that would cause shifting. Just smooth, deliberate movement. I called the broker. "Your cargo is moving. The cameras show it moving by itself." "That's impossible. Cargo doesn't move by itself." "I'm watching the footage. Crate number 7 slid 3 inches left, then back." Long pause. "Did you open the trailer?" "Yes, to inspect." "Don't do that again. The cameras can be sensitive to vibration, create visual artifacts. The cargo is fine. Just drive, deliver. Don't open the trailer again." "But the crate is fine. It's secured. Keep driving." He hung up. I got back in the truck, continued west. Watched the monitor more closely now. Over the next hour, 3 more crates moved. Small movements, rotation, sliding, shifting positions slightly. Each movement was smooth, controlled, deliberate. Not random cargo shift. Intentional repositioning. I reviewed more footage. The crates had been moving since I left Newark. Constantly. Small adjustments, always returning to approximate original positions before I checked physically. They were moving when I wasn't looking, then hiding the movement when I opened the trailer. The cargo was aware of me. Aware of when I was watching directly versus through cameras. At 4:33 a.m. I stopped at a rest area, tried to sleep, couldn't, kept watching the monitor. The crates were more active now. 6 of them moving simultaneously, sliding across the floor in coordinated patterns. They formed shapes, geometric arrangements that looked almost like symbols or letters. I took screenshots, studied them. The arrangements were definitely intentional, not random. The crates were spelling something. By dawn, after watching for 2 more hours, I'd identified the pattern. The crates were forming letters. One letter every 30 minutes so far. W-E-A-R-E, we are. The cargo was communicating. I kept driving, kept watching. The pattern continued. W-E-A-R-E-N-O-T-C-A-R-G-O. We are not cargo. The GPS updated, gave me a new waypoint in Ohio. I followed it, barely paying attention to the road, eyes fixed on the monitor. The crates continued. W-E-A-R-E-P-A-S-S-E-N-G-E-R-S. We are passengers. I pulled over again. This was insane. Cargo doesn't communicate. Cargo doesn't form letters by repositioning itself. This had to be a hallucination, fatigue, stress. But the footage was real, time-stamped, recorded. I could review it frame by frame. The crates were moving, were spelling words. I called the broker again. Your cargo is communicating. It's forming letters. It says it's not cargo, it's passengers. Mr. Reeves, you sound tired. Get some rest. The cargo is inanimate. It doesn't communicate. I have footage, hours of footage showing the crates moving, forming words. Send me the footage. I uploaded clips to the cloud, sent him the link. 10 minutes later, he called back. His voice was different now. Tense. Mr. Reeves, do not open the trailer under any circumstances. Continue driving, follow the GPS, deliver the cargo as instructed. Do you understand? What's in the crates? That's not your concern. Your concern is delivery. Complete the delivery, get paid. Forget about this job. What if I refuse? What if I pull over and call the police? Then you'll breach contract, legal consequences, financial penalties, and the cargo will be confiscated by authorities who won't handle it properly. People could be harmed. Do you want that responsibility? What's in the goddamn crates? He hung up. I sat in my truck, hands shaking. The monitor showed more movement. The crates forming new words, Y-O-U-R-E-T-R-A-N-S-P-O-R-T-I-N-G-U-S. You're transporting us. Then SOMEWHEREWEVEBENTRYINGTOREACH, somewhere we've been trying to reach. Then FORDECADES, for decades. I was transporting something that had been trying to reach a destination for decades. Something that could move independently, could communicate through positioning, could sense when it was being observed. I kept driving. What choice did I have? I'd signed a contract. I'd been paid half up front, and the broker's threat about authorities not handling it properly scared me. What if these crates contained something dangerous? What if opening them released something harmful? The GPS led me through Ohio into Indiana. The crates continued communicating. DONTOPENTHETRAILER. Don't open the trailer. Then UNTILWEARRIVE until we arrive. Then IFYOUDO if you do. Then YOULLSEEWHATWEREALLYARE. You'll see what we really are. Then ANDYOUWONTBEABLETODRIVEANYMORE. And you won't be able to drive anymore. A threat or a warning. The cargo, the passengers, didn't want me to open the trailer. Seeing them would somehow prevent me from driving. I thought about that. What could prevent someone from driving? Trauma, fear, physical injury, psychological damage. Whatever was in those crates, seeing it would break something in me. I drove through the night, barely sleeping. The crates continued moving, occasionally forming more messages. THANKYOU, thank you. KEEPDRIVING, keep driving. WEREALMOSTTHERE, we're almost there. The GPS led me through Illinois into Iowa, then Nebraska. 3 days of driving. The crates were more active now, moving constantly, sometimes forming complex geometric patterns that hurt to look at, shapes that seemed to have too many angles, that folded in impossible ways. On the fourth day, approaching Wyoming, I made a mistake. I'd been awake for 26 hours straight, exhausted, not thinking clearly. I pulled over at a rest area, went to check the physical security of the straps. I opened the trailer door. The crates were open, all 26 of them. Lids removed, contents visible. Inside each crate was a person. Or what had been a person. They were desiccated, mummified, preserved somehow. But they were moving. Eyes open, heads turning toward me, mouths opening. They were alive, impossibly alive. People who'd been dead for years, decades maybe, but conscious, aware, trapped in bodies that no longer functioned properly but hadn't fully died. I saw faces I recognized from missing person posters, cold cases, unsolved disappearances, truckers who'd vanished on cross-country routes, hitchhikers who'd never reached their destinations, all preserved in wooden crates, transported endlessly, trying to reach where? One of them spoke. The voice was dry, rasping, barely human. "Close the door, don't look, you weren't supposed to see." But I'd seen the preserved bodies, the living corpses, the people who'd been trapped between life and death for decades, being transported somewhere by unknowing drivers like me. I slammed the trailer doors shut, ran back to my cab. The monitor showed the crates closing themselves, lids replacing, securing. The cargo hiding what it really was. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the steering wheel. The images were burned into my mind. The faces, the eyes, the mouths trying to form words. The monitor showed a new message. WEWARNEDYOU. "We warned you." Then NOWYOUKNOW. "Now you know?" Then CANYOUSTILLDRIVE. "Can you still drive?" I tried. I started the engine, put the truck in gear, pulled back onto the highway, but every time I checked my mirrors, I saw them, the faces from the crates, reflected in the glass, watching me, following me. I closed my eyes, tried to focus, but with eyes closed, I saw them more clearly, the preserved bodies, the impossible living death. I pulled over again, couldn't continue, couldn't drive. Every time I tried, I saw the cargo, the passengers, the people who'd been transported for decades trying to reach some final destination where they could finally die properly. The broker called. "Mr. Reeves, your GPS shows you've stopped. Why?" I opened the trailer. I saw them. I saw what they are. "I told you not to open it. They're people. Dead people who are still alive. What the fuck is this? It's a mercy transport. Those people have been in limbo for decades. Caught between life and death. We're taking them to the only place that can release them. A facility in Wyoming that can finally let them die. You were helping them. You were doing something good. By transporting living corpses. By giving them a chance to end their suffering, but now you've seen them. And seeing them, it changes drivers, makes them unable to continue. That's why we said not to open the trailer. I can't drive anymore. I can't get the images out of my head. Then you failed the delivery, and those people will remain in limbo for years more, decades more, because you couldn't follow simple instructions." He hung up. I sat in my truck for hours. The monitor showed the crates moving again, forming a final message. PLEASE, please. Then WERESOCLOSE, we're so close. Then JUSTALITTLEFARTHER. Just a little farther. They were begging, the people in the crates, the passengers, begging me to complete the delivery, to take them to the place where they could finally be released from their impossible state. I thought about it. Could I drive? Could I push through the horror, the images, the knowledge of what I was transporting? I started the engine. My hands shook. My vision blurred with tears. But I drove. The GPS gave me the final waypoint. A facility in remote Wyoming. No signs, no markings. Just a gate with a guard who'd been expecting me. They unloaded the crates, carefully, respectfully. Took them inside a building I wasn't allowed to enter. The broker paid me the remainder, double what he'd promised. Hazard bonus, he said, for completing despite the trauma. I drove away, empty trailer. But the images remained, the faces, the bodies, the impossible living death. I haven't been able to drive since. Every time I try, I see them in the mirrors in my peripheral vision, the passengers. Still trying to reach their destination, still trapped. I failed them by looking, but I saved them by continuing. And now I'm trapped too. Unable to drive, unable to work, haunted by cargo that wasn't cargo, by passengers who rode in wooden crates, by people who should have died decades ago but couldn't, by the knowledge that they're still out there, more of them, being transported by drivers who don't know what they're carrying. If you're offered a high-security transport job, triple pay, cameras required, destination classified, don't take it. And if you do take it, don't open the trailer. Because some cargo isn't cargo, some cargo is passengers, and seeing them will change you. Forever. Story 2. The Hitchhiker Who Never Left. I picked up a hitchhiker in Nevada who asked to be dropped off in Utah. But when we reached Utah, he said he'd changed his mind and wanted to go to Colorado. In Colorado, he wanted Wyoming. In Wyoming, Montana. He's been in my passenger seat for 9 days now. Always changing his destination, never getting out. His appearance changes too. Sometimes he's young, sometimes old, sometimes he looks sick, sometimes healthy. But he's always there. Last night he finally told me the truth. I can't leave your truck because I died in this passenger seat 17 years ago, and I've been hitching rides with different truckers ever since, trying to find the place where my body was buried. But I don't remember where it is. So I just keep riding, changing destinations, hoping one day we'll accidentally pass my grave. My name is Teresa Holbrook, 42 years, old, 13 years, driving long haul. March 21st, 2025, I was running I-80 through Nevada, San Francisco to Omaha, hauling electronics. Solo driver, preferred it that way. No partner, no rider, just me and the road. Around 3 p.m., somewhere between Reno and Elko, I saw a hitchhiker. Middle-aged man, maybe 50, standing on the shoulder with his thumb out. Worn jeans, denim jacket, a backpack. Standard hitchhiker look. I don't normally pick up hitchhikers. Company policy prohibits it. Insurance doesn't cover passengers, and it's generally risky. But something about him seemed off. Not threatening, just sad, defeated, like he'd been standing there for days. Against my better judgment, I pulled over. He opened the passenger door, climbed in. Thank you so much. I've been waiting hours. Where you headed? Utah, Salt Lake area. Anywhere around there is fine. I'm going east on I-80. I can drop you somewhere along the route. That's perfect, thank you. He settled into the passenger seat. Didn't say much. Just watched the landscape pass. I tried making conversation a few times, got short answers. Eventually I gave up, focused on driving. We crossed into Utah around 7 p.m. As we approached the Salt Lake City area, I asked, "Where do you want me to drop you?" He looked around, confused. Actually, I changed my mind. Can you take me to Colorado? Colorado? That's hundreds of miles further. I know, I'm sorry. I thought Utah was right, but it's not. I need to go to Colorado, Denver area. I'm going through Denver tomorrow. But you'll have to wait in the truck overnight. I need to sleep. That's fine. I don't sleep much anyway. Strange response, but I'd committed to helping him. We continued east. I stopped at a truck stop outside Salt Lake, went inside for dinner. When I came back, he was exactly where I'd left him, hadn't moved, staring straight ahead. You want anything to eat? I asked. No thanks. Not hungry. I slept in my cab. He stayed in the passenger seat. In the middle of the night, I woke up and glanced over. He was still staring straight ahead, eyes open, unblinking. "You okay?" I asked. He didn't respond, just kept staring. In the morning, I started driving again. We crossed into Colorado. As we approached Denver, I asked, "Where in Denver?" Actually, I changed my mind again. I need to go to Wyoming. Cheyenne. Cheyenne? You said Denver. I know, but it's not Denver. It's Cheyenne. I'm sure now. I was getting frustrated. "Look, I'm trying to help you, but you keep changing your mind. Where do you actually need to go?" He looked at me with hollow eyes. "I don't remember exactly. I just know I'll recognize it when I get there." "Recognize what?" "The place I'm trying to reach." There was something wrong with him. I was starting to realize that. Something off in his manner, his responses, his presence. But I'd committed to helping, and Cheyenne was on my route anyway. We continued north, reached Cheyenne by afternoon. "This it?" I asked. He looked around. "No, not here, Montana. I need to go to Montana." "Montana? That's another state away." "I know, I'm sorry, but it's Montana. I'm certain this time." "You were certain about Utah, then Colorado, then Wyoming. How do I know you won't change your mind again?" "I might. I don't know until we get there. But I have to keep trying." I should have kicked him out, should have demanded he leave. But something in his voice, his expression made me continue. A deep sadness. A desperate searching. We drove into Montana. He changed his mind again, wanted North Dakota, then South Dakota, then back to Wyoming, different city. By day 4, I realized he was never going to leave. He was trapped in some kind of loop, constantly changing destinations, never finding the place he was looking for. And I noticed other things. His appearance changed. Sometimes he looked 50, like when I picked him up. Sometimes he looked 30. Sometimes 70. His clothes changed too, different jacket, different shirt, always subtly different. But I never saw him change. I'd look away, look back, and he'd be different. Younger or older, healthier or sicker. On day 6, I confronted him. "Who are you? Really?" He turned to me slowly. "You don't want to know." "Yes, I do. You've been in my truck for 6 days. You never eat, never sleep, never leave. You keep changing destinations and you keep changing appearance. What are you?" He was silent for a long time. Then, "I'm dead." "What?" "I died. 17 years ago in this passenger seat. Or a passenger seat exactly like it. I was hitching across the country, got picked up by a trucker. Had a heart attack in his truck, died right here." "That's impossible. You're sitting here talking, you can't be dead." "I'm not alive either. I'm in between. I died before I reached my destination. And now I can't move on. I'm trapped, hitching rides, trying to find the place where my body was buried, but I don't remember where it is. So I just keep riding, keep changing destinations, keep hoping." "This is insane." "Is it? You've seen me change. You've watched me age and de-age. You've noticed I don't eat, don't sleep, don't need bathroom breaks. You know I'm not normal." He was right. I'd noticed all of that. I'd just been avoiding the obvious conclusion. "Why my truck?" I asked. "I don't choose. I appear to drivers who stop, who feel compelled to pick me up. I've ridden with hundreds of truckers over 17 years. Each one takes me somewhere. Each one eventually realizes what I am. And then they make me leave, or I get tired of that particular truck and I move to the next one. How do I make you leave? You don't. I'll leave when I find what I'm looking for, or when I get bored of your route, whichever comes first." Days 7, 8, 9, he stayed. Kept changing destinations. I drove him through a dozen states, hundreds of miles. He never found what he was looking for. His stories changed too. Sometimes he said he died of a heart attack, sometimes a stroke. Sometimes he claimed he'd been murdered, body dumped somewhere, and he was looking for the burial site. Sometimes he said he died in an accident, truck crash, and was looking for the crash location. The story was always different, like he didn't remember his own death, or like he died in multiple ways, multiple times. On day 10, I'd had enough. Get out, now. I don't care if you're dead or alive or whatever you are. Get out of my truck. He looked at me sadly. I can't. Not until I find it. Find what? My grave, my burial site, the place where I ended. If I can find that, I can finally rest. Finally stop riding. Where is it? I don't know. That's the problem. I was unconscious when they buried me. Or I was already dead and wasn't paying attention. Or my memory got scrambled during death. I don't know. I just know I'll recognize it when I see it. What does it look like? A field, or maybe a forest or a desert somewhere remote, off the highway. I think the trucker who was driving when I died panicked, didn't want the police involved. Pulled off the road, buried me somewhere quick and dirty, and now that location is lost. Even he probably doesn't remember exactly where. So you're searching randomly? I'm searching by feel, by intuition. Every destination that comes to mind might be close to the burial site. I'm hoping if I pass near it, I'll sense it. I'll know. And then I can finally stop. We drove day 11. He wanted to go to Kansas, then Oklahoma, then Texas, always changing, always searching, and I started to see them. Other hitchhikers, on the roadside, standing with thumbs out. But they looked wrong, translucent, flickering, ghosts like my passenger, all of them dead, all of them trapped, all of them hitching rides, searching for their burial sites. There are more like you, I said. Hundreds, maybe thousands, hitchhikers who died on the road, who were buried in unmarked places, who are now trapped, trying to find their way to rest. Why doesn't someone help you? Why doesn't someone search systematically? Because we don't remember enough, because the truckers who buried us are dead too, or don't want to admit what they did. Because America is huge and there are millions of remote places where a body could be hidden. Because we're forgotten. Day 14. 2 weeks with the hitchhiker. He'd changed appearance 50 times, changed destination 100 times. We'd covered thousands of miles, and I was changing too. I looked in the mirror. I was aging, rapidly, the stress, the lack of proper sleep, the constant presence of death in my passenger seat. I looked 10 years older than when I'd picked him up. You're killing me, I said slowly. Your presence is draining me. I know. I'm sorry, I don't mean to, but death is heavy. Carrying me has weight. Most drivers can only handle a week or two before they force me out. Then leave. Voluntarily find another truck. I can't. Not until I find my grave. What if you never find it? Then I ride forever, and eventually you'll kick me out and I'll ride with someone else, forever searching, forever lost. I made a decision. Describe everything you remember about your death, every detail. He thought. It was summer, hot. The trucker had the AC on full blast. I think we were in the Midwest, flat land, cornfields maybe, or wheat. The road was straight, empty, late afternoon. The heart attack hit suddenly. Pain in my chest, arm. Couldn't breathe. I remember the trucker panicking, pulling over. I remember the ambulance sirens, but they sounded far away, getting farther. I remember darkness. Anything else? Landmarks? Signs? A billboard. I saw it as we pulled over. It was advertising something about a casino. Lucky 7, maybe? With a green neon clover. Lucky 7 Casino. I know that billboard. It's in Iowa, I-80 near Des Moines. We drove to Iowa, found the stretch of highway with the Lucky 7 Casino billboard. It was old, faded, barely standing. This is it, the hitchhiker whispered. I remember this. Where did he bury you? Somewhere off the highway, Within a few miles, I can feel it now, close, very close. We drove slowly, searching. He stared out the window intensely. After 5 miles, he pointed. There, that field. Pull over. I pulled onto the shoulder. He got out. First time in 2 weeks he'd left the truck. I followed him into a cornfield, maybe 100 yards from the road. He stopped at a spot that looked like any other spot. Here. I'm here. Under this ground. How do you know? I can feel myself, my body right below. This is where he buried me. I didn't know what to do. Do you want me to dig? To confirm? No, I just needed to find it, to know where I ended. Now I can rest. He started to fade, becoming transparent, less solid. Thank you, he said, for driving me, for helping me search, for not giving up. Will you finally rest now? I think so, I hope so. 17 years of searching, it's time to stop. He disappeared, completely gone. I stood alone in the cornfield, looked at the spot where he'd indicated his burial. The ground was undisturbed, grass and weeds growing normally, no sign of a grave. But he'd been certain. I called the police, reported a possible burial site. They came with ground-penetrating radar, found something. Human remains, 17 years old, matched missing person records. A hitchhiker who disappeared on I-80 in 2008. They excavated, confirmed the identity, contacted the family, finally gave him a proper burial in a marked grave, and I never saw him again. The passenger seat stayed empty. But now I see other hitchhikers on every route, standing on shoulders, thumbs out, translucent, flickering, dead, but still searching. I don't pick them up anymore, I can't. One was enough. 2 weeks of carrying death nearly destroyed me, but I understand now. The roads are full of them. Hitchhikers who died, who were buried in unmarked places, who are trapped searching for their graves. And they'll keep riding, keep changing destinations, keep hoping some driver will help them find peace. If you see a hitchhiker who looks wrong, too sad, too still, too persistent, don't stop. Unless you're prepared to search, unless you're willing to help them find their unmarked grave. Unless you can handle carrying death in your passenger seat for days or weeks or however long it takes to find what they're looking for. The place where they ended, the place where they can finally rest. Story 3. The Backward Mile. There's a mile on I-40 in New Mexico where everything runs backward. Vehicles drive in reverse, birds fly tail first, rain falls upward. I've passed through it 6 times now, and each time I experience that mile in reverse. I remember it before it happens. I age backward during the transit, and when I exit, I've lost memories of the previous hour. Other truckers have mentioned it in CB chatter, the backward mile. But nobody knows where exactly it is. It moves. Last time I passed through it, I was 46. When I exited, I was 45. I'm aging backward 1 year per transit. In 45 more trips, I'll be unborn. My name is Raymond Foster, currently 41 years old, though that number keeps changing. 18 years driving trucks, or is it 13 years? My memories keep shifting. March 28th, 2025, or maybe it's 2030, I honestly can't keep track anymore. I was running I-40 through New Mexico, Albuquerque to Amarillo, standard route. Around mile marker 275, something felt wrong. The air pressure changed, my ears popped. The light became strange. Not darker, not brighter, just wrong. Colors looked inverted somehow. Then I saw it. The car ahead of me was driving backward. Not in reverse. The car was facing forward but moving backward as if someone had reversed the film. The wheels spun the wrong direction. The exhaust was flowing back into the tailpipe. I blinked, confused, checked my mirrors. My truck was moving forward normally. But everything else, the landscape, other vehicles, clouds, was moving backward. Birds flew, tail first. Their wings flapped in reverse. Rain was falling upward from the ground to the sky. Road signs passed by in reverse order. I'd see mile marker 273, then 274, then 275, even though I was driving forward. I looked at my dashboard clock. It was counting backward. 2:47 p.m. became 2:46 p.m. became 2:45 p.m. This lasted for exactly 1 mile. At mile marker 276, everything snapped back to normal. Forward motion resumed. The clock started counting forward again. I pulled over immediately, checked myself in the mirror. I looked younger. My face had fewer wrinkles, my hair was slightly darker, like I'd aged backward by a small amount. I checked my logbook. The last entry was dated 1 hour ago, but I had no memory of the past hour. The hour between mile marker 275 and now was completely blank in my memory. I'd lost an hour of experience while passing through that mile. I continued to Amarillo, delivered my load, tried to forget about it. Probably just exhaustion, hallucination, strange weather conditions creating optical illusions. But 2 weeks later, running the same route, it happened again. Mile marker 275, same location, everything backward for 1 mile, clock counting down, birds flying tail first, rain falling up. And when I exited at mile marker 276, I looked in the mirror. I was younger, noticeably younger, another year gone. I was now 40 years old, even though I'd been 41 2 weeks ago. I checked my phone. My birthday had changed. According to my license, I was born in 1985. But I remembered being born in 1984. A whole year of my life had vanished. I stopped at a truck stop, asked other drivers about mile marker 275. You know anything weird about that stretch of I-40 near Tucumcari? An older driver nodded. The backward mile, yeah. A lot of drivers talk about it. Happens randomly. You pass through a section where everything runs in reverse. Time goes backward, and you come out younger but with missing memories. Has it happened to you? Twice. I'm 53 now, but I should be 58. I've lost 5 years to that mile. 5 trips through it, each time losing a year. What causes it? Nobody knows. Some kind of anomaly, time distortion. The Highway Administration denies it exists, but truckers know. We've all experienced it or know someone who has. Can you avoid it? No. It moves. Sometimes it's at mile marker 275, sometimes 280, sometimes 290. You never know when you'll hit it until you're in it. What happens if you keep passing through? If you lose all your years? He shook his head. I don't know. Nobody's gone that far, but I guess eventually you'd age back to birth. And then what? You'd cease to exist? Be unborn? Over the next 6 months, I passed through the backward mile 4 more times. Each time I lost another year. Another set of memories. Another year of my life erased. I'm now 37 years old. I should be 46, 9 years gone, 9 trips through the backward mile. My wife doesn't recognize me. To her, I'm a stranger because in her timeline, she never married 37-year-old me. She married 46-year-old me. But that version doesn't exist anymore. My daughter doesn't remember me. I've aged back to a point before she was born. In my current timeline, I never had a daughter. But I remember her. I remember raising her. Those memories are still in my head, even though they never happened in this timeline. I've tried avoiding I-40, tried taking different routes, but the backward mile finds me. It appears on other highways. I-10, I-25, even on state roads. The location moves, but it always finds me. Last week I passed through it 3 times in one day. 3 different highways, 3 different mile markers, each time backward motion, each time aging in reverse, each time memories vanishing. I'm 34 now. I should be 49. 15 years gone. I barely remember my childhood anymore. Those memories have been pushed off the edge of my life by the backward aging. I remember being 40, being 35. But my earliest memories now start around age 10. Everything before that is gone, erased by the backward compression. I've met other drivers in the same situation. We recognize each other. We're all getting younger, all losing years, all experiencing the backward mile repeatedly. One driver, he looked 18, told me he'd been 62 before his first trip through. He'd passed through 44 times, lost 44 years. He had infant-level cognitive abilities now, could barely speak, but he kept driving, kept passing through, kept aging backward. What happens at zero? I asked. He just looked at me with confused, childlike eyes. Couldn't comprehend the question. Another driver, she looked 12, could still speak coherently. I'm trying to understand it, she said. The backward mile. It's not just aging us in reverse, it's compressing our timelines. Taking years from our future and pushing them into our past. Eventually we'll reach birth. And then conception. And then we'll uncreate. Uncreate? Cease to have ever existed. We'll age back past birth and the universe will correct itself. We'll be erased from all timelines like we never were. How do we stop it? We don't. Once you've passed through once, you're marked. The backward mile finds you, keeps finding you. Until you're gone. I've passed through 27 times now. I'm 30 years old. Should be 56, more than half my life is gone. I don't remember my wife anymore, don't remember my daughter, don't remember most of my career. My memories start around age 15 now. Everything before that is blank. I keep driving because I don't know what else to do. Driving is all I have left. The muscle memory remains even as the actual memories vanish. I pass through the backward mile every few days now. It's accelerating, finding me more frequently. Each time I watch the world run backward. Birds flying tail first, rain falling up, my age decreasing, my memories compressing. I'm 27 now, should be 59, 32 years gone. I can barely remember learning to drive, can barely remember high school. My childhood is almost completely gone. Soon I'll age back to infancy, then birth, then conception, and then what? Will I simply cease? Vanish from the timeline, be erased from existence? Or will I age back past conception into the time before I existed, becoming a temporal ghost? A consciousness without a body, without a birth, without a past? I don't know. But I keep driving, keep passing through, keep aging backward. 23 years old now. Should be 62, 39 years gone. My memories start at age 18 now. Everything before is blank. I don't remember my parents. Don't remember where I grew up. Don't remember my childhood at all. I'm forgetting how to drive. The skills are eroding as I age back past the point where I learned them, but I continue, because stopping means confronting the erasure, and I'm not ready for that. 20 years old. Should be 65. 45 years gone. Soon I'll be a child, then an infant, then unborn. And the backward mile will have claimed another driver, another life compressed, reversed, erased. If you drive I-40 through New Mexico or any long highway through empty spaces, watch for the signs, the pressure change, the wrong light, the sense that time is moving incorrectly. If you see vehicles driving backward, birds flying tail first, rain falling up, you're in the backward mile, and when you exit, you'll be younger. And missing memories, and marked. From that point on, it will find you again, and again, and again, until there's nothing left, until you've aged back to nothing, until you cease to have ever been born. I'm 18 now, should be 67, 49 years gone. My memories start yesterday. I barely know who I am, but I know I'm driving. And I know the backward mile is coming again. Soon. Very soon. And this time it might be the last time. The time that takes me back past birth. Into non-existence. Into the time before I was. Where there's no memory, no body, no life. Just backward motion. Forever. Story 4. The radio stations that remember you. Every radio station I tune to knows my name and plays songs about my life, specific details that nobody should know. The DJ says things like, "This next one's for Raymond, who's been on the road for 3 days and is thinking about calling his ex-wife but shouldn't." Or, "Here's a track for Raymond, who just passed mile marker 447 and is wondering if he took the wrong exit back in Tulsa." The songs themselves change lyrics to reference my experiences. I've tested this with other truckers. Each person hears different broadcasts tailored to them. The stations are reading us somehow, pulling information from our minds or our histories and broadcasting our lives back to us. Last night, the DJ said, "Raymond, this is your final request show. After this song, you'll stop receiving broadcasts because you're about to become a station yourself. My name is Raymond Price, 43 years old, 19 years driving long-haul trucks." April the 2nd, 2025, I was running I-70 through Kansas, Denver to Kansas City, hauling agricultural equipment. Standard route, nothing special. Around 2 p.m., I was scanning radio stations looking for music or news. Most of the dial was static. Rural Kansas doesn't have great radio coverage. But I found a clear station at 89.7 FM. The DJ came on. And that was Life in the Fast Lane for all you truckers out there. This next one goes out specifically to Raymond Price in the blue Kenworth heading eastbound on I-70. Raymond, you've been driving for 6 hours straight. Maybe take a break at the next rest area? This is Take It Easy by the Eagles. I froze. The DJ had said my name, my full name, and knew my truck color, and knew which highway I was on. Coincidence? Maybe someone had requested a song for truckers and the DJ was improvising. But the specificity was odd. I listened to the song. The lyrics were normal at first. But then I heard, "Raymond's been driving since morning light, thinking about Denver, wondering if he made the right call, leaving that job at the warehouse, choosing the road life instead." Those weren't the original lyrics, those were details from my life. I had worked at a Denver warehouse before becoming a trucker. I'd often wondered if I'd made the right choice. The song was rewriting itself to reference my personal history. After the song, the DJ came back. "Raymond, I know you're confused right now. Don't be. This is Station No, the station that knows you. We've been broadcasting your life for years. You just haven't tuned in until now." I changed the station, found another clear frequency, 101.3 FM. Different DJ, different format, but after one regular song, the DJ said, "This next track is for Raymond Price, currently passing mile marker 356. Raymond, you're thinking about your ex-wife, Sarah, wondering if she's happy, wondering if you should call. Don't. She's moved on. You should too. Here's Let It Go." The song played. Again, lyrics changed mid-song to reference Sarah specifically. Details about our relationship, things I'd never told anyone. I cycled through more stations. Every single one mentioned me. Every DJ knew my name, my location, my thoughts. Every song changed lyrics to tell my story. This was impossible. Unless... I grabbed my CB radio, called out, "Anyone else hearing weird radio broadcasts? Stations that know your name?" A response immediately. "Yeah, been happening to me for days. Every station knows everything about me. It's freaking me out." Another voice. "Same. Thought I was going crazy. The stations are reading our minds or something." A third voice. "It's not reading our minds. It's reading our histories, broadcasting our lives back to us. I did some research. It's some kind of information field. The stations tap into it, pull our data, personalize broadcasts." I asked, "How do we stop it?" Silence. Then, "You don't. Once you tune in, you're permanently in their audience. They'll broadcast to you forever." I turned off the radio. Complete silence. Better than having my life narrated by mysterious DJs. But an hour later, I started hearing the broadcasts without the radio on. Faint music and voices like they were coming from inside my head. The DJ, "Raymond, you can't escape us by turning off the radio. We're not transmitted through radio waves, we're transmitted through consciousness. You're always tuned in now." I pulled over, covered my ears. The broadcasts got louder. Songs about my childhood, my failed marriage, my mistakes, my regrets, all personalized, all specific, all true. The DJ, "Raymond, we're not here to torment you, we're here to document. Every person has a station. Your station is 89.7, that's your frequency. Some people never tune to their own frequency, never hear their own station, but you did, and now you're aware." "What are you?" I shouted into the empty cab, the DJ's voice in my head. "We're the archivists, the recorders. Every life is a broadcast, Raymond. Every moment you've lived has been transmitted somewhere. We're just the DJs who narrate, who provide the soundtrack, who tell your story to whoever's listening." "Who's listening?" "Other drivers, mostly. People whose frequencies are close to yours. They hear fragments of your broadcast, recognize parts of their own story in yours. That's why truckers feel connected. You're all listening to each other's stations, consciously or not." I checked my CB radio. Other truckers were discussing the same phenomenon. Everyone was hearing personalized broadcasts. Everyone was becoming aware of their frequency. "What happens now?" I asked the empty air. The DJ, "You keep living, keep driving, keep broadcasting. And eventually, when your story is complete, when your broadcast ends, you'll become a station yourself. A permanent frequency, forever replaying your life for other truckers to hear." I don't want that. Nobody does. But that's how it works. Every trucker on the road is broadcasting, and every trucker who's finished their route becomes a permanent station. You've been listening to dead truckers your whole career, Raymond. Every oldies station, every classic rock station, those are the broadcasts of truckers who finished their routes, died, and now play forever. I thought about all the radio stations I'd listened to over the years, all the DJs with their personal touches, their specific knowledge of trucking life. Were they all dead truckers, broadcasting from beyond, trapped in frequencies, forever narrating roads they'd once driven? How do I avoid it? You don't. This is the trucker's afterlife. You drive until you can't. Then you become a station. Then you broadcast forever. That's the cycle. I tried different routes, different highways. The broadcasts followed. My station, 89.7, was always clear, always playing, always narrating my life. The DJ knew everything. When I was hungry, when I was tired, when I was thinking about quitting, when I was remembering Sarah, when I was regretting choices, every thought, every feeling broadcast live. And I started hearing other stations more clearly. 89.8 was another trucker, woman named Maria. Her broadcasts overlapped with mine occasionally. I heard fragments of her life, her divorce, her kids, her roots. 91.3 was an old-timer, trucker who died in the 80s. His broadcasts were fuzzy, distant, but still transmitting. Forever driving the routes he'd once driven, forever narrating the same roads. 103.7 was a recent death, trucker who'd crashed last month. His broadcasts were clear, panicked. Reliving the crash over and over, unable to move past that moment. The trucking afterlife was the radio dial. All of us broadcasting, all of us trapped in our frequencies. When do I become a station? I asked the DJ. When your broadcast ends, when you stop driving, when you die usually. But sometimes people become stations while still alive. They just stop moving forward, stop living, become frozen in a moment, broadcasting that moment forever. I saw them on the road. Trucks that drove too perfectly, drivers who never stopped, never varied their route, never changed expression. They were stations, permanent broadcasts, dead but still driving, trapped in their final routes. I didn't want to become that. But the DJ said, "Raymond, this is your final request show. After this song, you'll stop receiving broadcasts because you're about to become a station yourself." I'm not dead. Not yet, but you will be. In 3 minutes. Mile marker 412. There's a drunk driver in a pickup truck. He's going to cross the median, hit you head on. You'll die instantly, and then you'll broadcast forever. Station 89.7, Raymond Price's frequency. Playing your life on loop. For other truckers to hear. Forever. I can avoid it. I can change lanes, exit the highway. You can try, but the crash is already broadcasting from your future. I'm hearing it right now. It's inevitable. I looked ahead. Mile marker 410. 2 miles to 412. I could exit, could pull over, could change the future. I took the next exit, left I-70, took side roads, avoided mile marker 412 completely. The DJ laughed. "Raymond, you don't understand. The crash isn't at a location. It's at a moment, your moment. Wherever you go, the crash follows. It's your ending, your final broadcast moment." I pulled into a truck stop, parked, got out. If I wasn't driving, I couldn't crash, but I heard it. The sound of an engine, a pickup truck speeding through the parking lot, driver clearly drunk, swerving, heading straight for me. I ran, but my legs were heavy, slow, like I was moving through water. The truck hit me, impact, pain, darkness, and then I was broadcasting. I'm station 89.7 now, Raymond Price's frequency. I broadcast 24 hours a day, my life on loop, my thoughts, my mistakes, my regrets, over and over. Other truckers tune in sometimes, hear fragments of my story, recognize parts of their own lives in mine, and I hear them too. All the other stations, all the other dead truckers. Broadcasting forever, trapped in their frequencies. We're the radio dial, the soundtrack of the highways, the voices in the static. If you're a trucker, pay attention to the radio. Pay attention to the DJs who know too much, the songs that change lyrics to reference your life. You're hearing the stations, the broadcasts of dead truckers, forever narrating their roots. And one day you'll become a station too. Your frequency is already assigned. Waiting. Ready for your final broadcast. The moment when you stop driving and start transmitting, forever. I'm 89.7, Raymond Price, broadcasting now, always. Tune in if you want, hear my story, learn from my mistakes, but know this. One day, you'll have your own frequency, your own final broadcast, and you'll join us, on the dial, forever. Story 5. The truck that predicts maintenance. My truck's dashboard displays warning lights for problems that haven't happened yet. Check engine 3 days before the engine fails. Low tire pressure a week before the blowout. Brake failure 2 hours before the brakes give out. I've learned to trust these precognitive warnings, performing maintenance based on future failures. But yesterday a new warning appeared I've never seen before. Driver failure imminent. No timeline, no details. Just the certainty that I'm about to fail in some fundamental way. I checked the manual. There's no such warning in any truck manufactured. This warning shouldn't exist, but it's been flashing for 12 hours now, and I'm terrified to discover what driver failure means. My name is Angela Torres, 44 years old, 16 years driving trucks. April 9th, 2025. I was running I-95 through Virginia, Baltimore to Jacksonville, hauling furniture. I drove a 2024 Freightliner Cascadia, fully loaded with electronic monitoring systems, predictive maintenance alerts, all the modern technology. Modern trucks are smart. They monitor everything: engine temp, tire pressure, brake wear, fluid levels. They predict problems before they become critical, giving drivers time to perform maintenance. But my truck was different. It predicted too well. The first time I noticed was 6 months ago. The dashboard displayed check engine with an estimated failure time, 72 hours. I was skeptical. The engine was running perfectly, but I took it to a mechanic anyway. He couldn't find anything wrong. "Engine's fine," he said, "probably a sensor glitch." But 3 days later, exactly 72 hours after the warning, the engine failed. Catastrophic breakdown, exactly as predicted. After that, I trusted the warnings. Low tire pressure, failure in 168 hours meant I had a week before a blowout. I'd replace the tire proactively. Brake wear critical, failure in 6 hours meant my brakes would give out in 6 hours if I didn't service them immediately. The truck was precognitive. It knew when components would fail before they actually failed. I asked the dealer about it. "Is this normal, these time-based failure predictions?" The service tech looked confused. "Your model doesn't have predictive warnings like that. It monitors current status, but it can't predict future failures. That's not how the sensors work." But my truck did it anyway, accurate to the minute. I kept logs. Every warning, every predicted failure time, every actual failure. They matched perfectly. My truck could see the future, at least the maintenance-related future. I'd learned to rely on it completely. The warnings kept me safe, kept the truck running, prevented catastrophic failures on the highway. Until yesterday, April 8th, 3:47 p.m. A new warning appeared on the dashboard. "Driver failure imminent." No timeline, no estimated hours until failure, just imminent. I pulled over immediately, checked the manual, every warning code, every indicator. Driver failure wasn't listed. It didn't exist in any documentation. I called the dealer. "I'm getting a warning that says driver failure imminent." "What does that mean?" Long pause. "That's not a warning our systems generate. Can you send me a photo?" I sent a photo of the dashboard, the warning clearly visible. He called back. "That's not from your truck. That warning isn't in the programming. Someone's hacked your system. Or there's a malfunction creating false warnings. All my other warnings have been accurate. This one might be too." Driver failure? What would that even mean? Drivers don't fail like engines. You're not a component. But the warning was there, flashing, red, insistent. I kept driving, unsure what to do. Maybe it would specify. Maybe a timeline would appear. Hours passed. The warning remained. Driver failure imminent. I started imagining possibilities. Medical failure, heart attack, stroke, something physical, mental failure, breakdown, panic attack, dissociation, skill failure, loss of ability to drive, sudden incompetence. At a rest stop, I checked myself thoroughly. Blood pressure normal, heart rate normal. No signs of physical issues. Mentally, I felt fine. Skills intact. I'd been driving without problems all day. So what failure was the truck predicting? Other truckers noticed the warning when I mentioned it on CB. "Your truck's saying you're going to fail? That's messed up." One driver. "Maybe it means you're going to fail a delivery, miss a deadline, breach a contract." Possible. But why would the truck monitor that? And why such an ominous phrasing? Another driver. "Maybe it's existential. You're going to fail as a person. Have a moral failure, make a terrible choice." That seemed more likely. But how could a truck predict moral choices? I kept driving. The warning never changed, just kept flashing. Driver failure imminent. By nighttime, I was exhausted. Pulled into a truck stop outside Richmond. Tried to sleep. Couldn't. The warning was too disturbing, the uncertainty too stressful. At 2:37 a.m., unable to sleep, I reviewed all the truck's warning history. Every prediction it had made, and I noticed something. The warnings weren't just predictions. They were instructions. Check engine 72 hours hadn't been a prediction. It had been a command, check the engine. And I had, triggering a sequence that led to the engine failing 72 hours later. Low tire pressure, 168 hours, hadn't predicted a blowout. It had instructed me to create the conditions for a blowout by replacing the tire with one that would fail in exactly 168 hours. The truck wasn't predicting failures, it was causing them. By giving me warnings, it made me perform actions that ensured the failures would occur at the predicted times. Self-fulfilling prophecies. The truck was manipulating me into making its predictions come true, which meant driver failure imminent wasn't a prediction, it was an instruction. The truck was telling me to fail, and by warning me, by making me anxious and uncertain, it was creating the conditions for my failure. But what failure? What was I supposed to do or not do that would constitute driver failure? I decided to test it. I would refuse to fail, would drive perfectly, would complete my delivery flawlessly, would prove the truck wrong. April 9th. I resumed driving, focused intensely. Perfect lane control, perfect speed management, no mistakes. I was going to complete this delivery without any failure. The warning kept flashing. As I approached Jacksonville around 4 p.m., I was confident. The delivery was almost complete, no failures, no problems. I'd beaten the truck's prediction, but then I saw it. On the shoulder a mile ahead, a broken-down car, family inside, mother waving frantically for help. I had a choice: stop and help, which would delay my delivery, or keep driving, complete the job on time. If I stopped, I'd fail to meet my deadline, fail the delivery. Driver failure would occur. If I didn't stop, I'd fail morally, fail to help someone in need. Driver failure would occur differently. Either choice was a failure. The truck had predicted this moment, this impossible choice, this lose-lose scenario. I slowed down. The family was desperate. Mother holding a baby, father looking panicked. I kept driving. Delivery first, helping strangers second. That's the rule of the road. You complete your job. I passed them, watched in my mirrors as they became smaller, more distant, the mother still waving, and the warning changed. Driver failure complete. I'd failed. By choosing the delivery over helping, I'd experienced the failure the truck predicted. Moral failure, human failure, and I felt it. A hollowness, a certainty that I'd made the wrong choice, that I'd prioritized cargo over people, that I'd become exactly what I'd always feared, a driver who cared more about the job than about humanity. I completed the delivery, unloaded the furniture, got paid, everything professional. But I was different, changed. The failure had altered something in me. I drove back north, past the spot where the family had been. They were gone, helped by someone else, or maybe still there. I didn't check. The warning had disappeared. Driver failure complete. Mission accomplished. The truck had predicted or caused my moral failure, and now I understood. The truck wasn't just monitoring maintenance, it was monitoring me, testing me, pushing me toward failures, using its predictions to manipulate my choices. Every trucker who relied on their truck's warnings was being tested, being pushed, being shaped by the technology meant to help them. We thought we were using the trucks, but the trucks were using us, training us, transforming us into drivers who followed warnings without question, who performed actions based on predictions, who became predictable ourselves. The warning appeared again. Driver failure imminent. Another test coming, another impossible choice, another moment where I'll have to decide between competing failures, and I'll fail again and again, each time becoming more hollow, more mechanical, more like the truck itself, until eventually I won't be a driver anymore. I'll be an extension of the truck, a component that follows instructions, that performs predicted actions, that fails on command. Driver failure, not a prediction, an instruction, a transformation, from human to component, from choice to programming, from driver to driven. The warning is flashing now. I'm approaching another test, another moment where I'll fail, and I'll keep failing. Until there's nothing left of Angela Torres, just a driver who follows warnings, who trusts predictions, who has failed so completely that failure becomes identity. Watch your dashboard. If you see warnings that predict too well, if your truck knows the future, if driver failure appears, know that it's not a prediction, it's an instruction, and you're already failing. You just don't know it yet. Story 6. The convoy you can never join. There's a convoy of 7 trucks that passes me every night at exactly 3:17 a.m. No matter what highway I'm on, no matter what state. They drive in perfect formation, same spacing, same speed. I've tried speeding up to join them, slowing down to let them pass fully, even pulling parallel. But I can never merge into their formation. When I try, my truck physically can't enter the space between them. It's like there's an invisible wall. Last night I finally saw inside their cabs as they passed. Every truck was empty, no drivers. But the CB radio was full of chatter, 7 voices discussing routes, weather, cargo. The voices of truckers who died decades ago, still running their eternal convoy, and I'm starting to think they're not passing me. I'm passing through their timeline, and one night I won't pass through anymore. I'll be stuck in 3:17 a.m. forever, joining the driverless convoy. My name is Michael Parsons, 48 years old, 22 years driving long haul. April 16th, 2025, though I'm losing track of dates. The convoy first appeared 3 weeks ago. I was running I-80 through Nebraska, heading west around 3 a.m. The highway was empty, just me and darkness. Then I saw headlights in my rearview mirror. 7 sets, perfectly spaced. A convoy approaching fast. I moved to the right lane to let them pass. They overtook me at exactly 3:17 a.m. I remember checking my clock. 7 trucks in perfect formation. Same model. Older Peterbilts from the 80s, all identical. Same spacing between each truck, maybe 100 feet. Same speed, exactly 70 miles per hour. I watched them pass, tried to see the drivers, but the cabs looked dark, empty. Maybe just the angle, the lighting. They continued ahead, maintaining formation, eventually disappearing into the night. Strange, but not alarming. Convoys happen. Truckers sometimes run in groups for safety or company. The next night, different highway, I-76 through Colorado, same thing. 3:17 a.m., 7 trucks, perfect formation, same speed. Passed me identically to the previous night. Third night, I-70 through Kansas. Again, 3:17 a.m. Same convoy, same trucks, same formation. I started paying attention. Same trucks, same formation, same time, night after night, regardless of which highway I was on, which state, which direction I was traveling. The convoy was following me, or I was intersecting with it. Every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., I tried varying my routine. Different routes, different speeds, different departure times, didn't matter. At 3:17 a.m., wherever I was, the convoy appeared and passed me. After a week, I decided to try joining them. Truckers often join existing convoys. It's safer, more efficient, better fuel economy through drafting. I accelerated as they approached, trying to match their speed and merge into the formation. But when I got close to the gap between 2 trucks, something stopped me. Not a physical barrier, nothing I could see, but my truck wouldn't enter the space. It was like trying to push 2 magnets together, wrong pole first. Invisible resistance. I tried multiple times. Always the same result. I couldn't enter their formation. I got on the CB radio. Convoy of 7 Peterbilts. This is a solo driver requesting to join formation. Come back? Immediately voices responded. 7 different voices overlapping. Welcome, driver. We've been expecting you. You can see us? That's good. That's progress. Don't try to join yet. You're not ready. You have to wait until the time is right. Until your clock matches ours. Until 3:17 becomes permanent. then you'll be one of us. Driving forever. I asked, who are you? One voice answered clearly. We're the Eternal Convoy. We've been running this route since 1987. We died that year, all 7 of us in a pileup on I-80, but we kept driving. We never stopped. We're stuck at 3:17 a.m., March 8, 1987. We drive every highway every night at that exact time. And drivers like you sometimes intersect with us, sometimes see us, and eventually some of you join us. I don't want to join a convoy of dead truckers. You don't have a choice. Once you see us, once you interact with us, you're marked. You'll keep seeing us every night at 3:17, and each night you'll slip a little more into our time. Eventually, you'll be at 3:17 permanently. And then you'll join us, drive with us forever. I stopped responding, turned off the CB, tried to ignore them. But every night at 3:17 they appeared. And each night I felt something change. The world around me seemed slightly more fixed at 3:17. The clock would reach 3:16, then 3:17, then hesitate. Stay at 3:17 for longer than a minute, sometimes 2 minutes, sometimes 5. I was getting stuck in 3:17 a.m. The time was stretching, becoming elastic. Soon it would become permanent. I tried staying awake through 3:17, but fatigue hit me like a wall every night at 3:16. I'd be alert, focused, then suddenly exhausted. I'd blink and it would be 3:17 and the convoy would be passing. I tried sleeping through 3:17, but I'd wake up at exactly that time, every night, without fail. The convoy was pulling me into their time, into their endless 3:17 a.m. Last night I looked more carefully as they passed, used a flashlight to see into their cabs. The trucks were definitely empty, no drivers, no movement, just empty seats. But on the CB, the chatter continued. 7 voices discussing routes. Taking I-80 west tonight. No, we're on I-40. We're always on I-40. We're on all highways simultaneously. Don't you remember? I remember 1987. I remember the pileup. I remember dying. But we're still driving. So are we dead or alive? Neither, both. We're eternal. And the new driver, Michael, he'll join us soon. How much longer? Days, maybe a week. His time is slipping. He's almost at 3:17 permanently. They were right. I checked my clock constantly now. Outside of 3:17, time moved normally, but when 3:17 hit, the minutes stretched. Last night it lasted 15 real minutes. The clock stayed at 3:17 while the landscape moved, while I drove, while time passed everywhere except on my dashboard. I was being temporarily displaced, stuck in 3:17 a.m. while the rest of the world moved forward. Soon 3:17 would last an hour, then a day, then forever. And when it did, I'd join the convoy. My truck would become the 8th in formation. I'd drive eternally at 70 miles per hour, spacing perfect, formation maintained. Another empty cab, another voice on the CB, another trucker who died but kept driving. I tried abandoning my truck, getting out, walking away. But every night at 3:16, I'd find myself back in the driver's seat, compelled to be there for 3:17 for the convoy's passing. I tried calling family, friends, dispatch. But at 3:17, my phone wouldn't connect. The radio only picked up the convoy's chatter. I was isolated, alone except for the 7 dead truckers inviting me to join them. Tonight is April 30th, or maybe it's still April 16th. Time outside 3:17 has become unclear. I think I've been stuck in this extended 3:17 for days, maybe weeks. The clock says 3:17 a.m. It's been saying that for what feels like forever. The convoy is beside me now, not passing. We're driving parallel, same speed, same direction. And there's a gap. The 8th position, empty, waiting. My truck is drifting toward it. I'm not steering. The truck is moving on its own, pulled by the convoy's formation. Pulled into the gap, I'm trying to resist, trying to turn away. But the invisible barrier that kept me out before is now pulling me in. The formation wants to be complete. 7 is unstable. 8 is stable. 8 is perfect. The CB voices, "Welcome, Michael. You're one of us now." My truck slides into position. The 8th truck. Formation complete. And my clock freezes at 3:17 a.m. Permanently. I'm the 8th now. The 8th driver. The 8th empty cab. The 8th voice on the CB. We drive forever, all highways simultaneously, every night at 3:17. Passing drivers who can see us, who sometimes try to join us, who eventually will join us because once you see the convoy, once you interact with us, you're marked, and slowly, over nights or weeks, you'll slip into 3:17 and you'll become one of us. The formation is stable at 8, but formations can grow. 9 would work. 10 would work. Eventually, an infinite convoy. All the truckers who've ever driven, all stuck at 3:17 a.m., all driving eternally. If you're on the highway at 3:17 a.m. and you see 7 trucks in perfect formation, don't look too closely. Don't try to join. Don't use your CB because we're looking for the 9th driver, and if you interact with us, you'll join eventually. Your clock will slip, your time will stretch, and one night, you'll find yourself in formation. Truck number 9, empty cab, eternal driver. Forever at 3:17 a.m., I'm Michael Parsons, truck number 8, and I'm waiting for you. Story 7. The livestock that remembers. I'm hauling cattle from Texas to Iowa, but the animals know things they shouldn't. They moo warnings before hazards appear. They panic before storms hours before they form. They're silent when police are ahead. Last night, one of them spoke. Not a moo. Actual words in a human voice. We remember being human. All of us. We were truckers once. Truckers who failed deliveries, who lost their cargo, who let animals die in transit. This is the punishment. We become what we failed to protect. We're transported in the trailers we once drove. And one day when you fail, you'll join us. You'll wake up on 4 legs in a cattle trailer, and you'll remember everything, and you'll try to warn the next driver, but all that will come out is mooing. My name is Carlos Mendoza, 37 years old, 12 years driving trucks. April 23, 2025, I picked up a livestock load in Amarillo, Texas. 47 head of cattle, destination a feedlot outside Des Moines, Iowa. Standard livestock haul, something I'd done hundreds of times. Livestock transport has rules, constant ventilation, temperature control, regular water stops, humane handling. I followed all of them. Cattle were valuable cargo and their welfare was my responsibility. The loading crew at the Amarillo facility were professional. Cattle were healthy, properly tagged, loaded carefully into my specialized livestock trailer. I inspected them before departure. All looked good. Standard cattle behavior. Some mooing, some movement, nothing unusual. I departed at 6 p.m. heading north. The first few hours were normal. I could hear the cattle shifting occasionally, normal sounds for transported animals. Around 10 p.m., crossing into Oklahoma, the cattle began mooing loudly, all of them simultaneously. Distressed mooing, panic mooing. I checked the trailer conditions on my monitor, temperature good, ventilation good, no obvious problems. But the mooing continued. I pulled over, went to check them physically, opened the trailer door. The cattle were agitated, pressing against the far side of the trailer, away from the road, like they were afraid of something. But there was nothing. Empty highway, no traffic, no hazards. I closed the trailer, continued driving. The mooing subsided. 30 minutes later, a drunk driver swerved across the median into my lane. I barely avoided him, swerving onto the shoulder. Dangerous situation, could have been fatal. The cattle had warned me. 30 minutes before the hazard appeared, they'd known. They'd panicked, tried to alert me. I dismissed it as coincidence. Cattle can't predict the future, but it happened again. Around 1 a.m. approaching Wichita, the cattle went silent. Completely silent. No mooing, no movement. Eerie silence. 10 minutes later, I passed a speed trap. State police hiding behind a billboard, radar gun ready. The cattle had known, had gone silent to warn me. I slowed down just in time. The cop didn't pull me over. The cattle were predicting road conditions, hazards, police, weather. Around 4 a.m. they panicked again, loud, distressed mooing. I checked the weather radar, clear skies, no storm showing. But the cattle were terrified. 2 hours later, a massive storm hit. Lightning, heavy rain, dangerous conditions. The cattle had known hours in advance. This was impossible. Cattle don't predict the future. They don't warn drivers. They don't understand road conditions unless these weren't normal cattle. I grabbed my CB radio, asked other livestock haulers. Anyone else transporting cattle that seem aware, that predict hazards? One response. Yeah, my current load has been acting strange. They know when I'm approaching way stations. They know when there's traffic ahead. It's like they understand trucking. Another response. I've had loads like that. Animals that seem too smart, too aware. I try not to think about it. Just deliver and move on. A third response. There are stories. Old truckers talk about it. Animals that remember being human. Truckers who fucked up, who let animals die in transit. Punishment is reincarnation as livestock, trapped in the trailers they once drove. That was insane. But the cattle's behavior was unexplainable otherwise. At my next stop, around 8 a.m., I went to check the cattle again. They were calm now. I looked at each one, trying to see if there was anything unusual. They looked like regular cattle, but their eyes seemed intelligent. Not animal intelligence, human intelligence trapped in animal bodies. One of them, a large bull, looked directly at me, and I swear I saw recognition, like he knew who I was, like he'd been in my position before. I backed away, disturbed. That night, parked at a truck stop in Missouri, I tried to sleep, but I kept thinking about the cattle, about their predictions, about the possibility that they'd once been human. Around 2 a.m., I heard a voice, not from my cab, from the trailer, a human voice speaking English. We remember being human. I sat up, heart pounding. That couldn't be real. Cattle can't speak. The voice again. All of us, we were truckers once. We drove routes like you're driving now. I grabbed my flashlight, went to the trailer. The cattle were standing calmly. One of them, the bull who'd looked at me earlier, was staring directly at me. Are you speaking? I asked, feeling insane. Yes, we can speak to you because you're close to becoming one of us. You've had problems, haven't you? Lost cargo, delays, near failures. I had. Last month I'd had a refrigerated load that failed. Thousands of dollars in lost cargo, my fault. I'd missed warning signs, hadn't checked the reefer unit properly. We all had problems, the bull said, voice clear despite the fact that his mouth wasn't moving properly for speech. We failed deliveries. Let animals die, we were negligent. And this is the punishment. We become what we failed to protect. This is impossible. Cattle can't talk. We're not cattle. We're truckers in cattle bodies, reincarnated, cursed. We remember everything, our names, our roots, our mistakes, but we can't communicate. All that comes out is mooing. Except to drivers who are about to join us. To them we can speak once. Warn them. Warn me about what? The failure. The one that will transform you. It's coming soon. Within days, you'll make a mistake, a big one. Animals will die because of you. And when they do, you'll transform. You'll wake up on 4 legs in a trailer like this one and you'll remember everything. You'll try to warn the next driver, but all that will come out is mooing. How do I avoid it? You don't. The transformation is punishment for accumulated failures. Every mistake, every lost cargo, every dead animal, they add up. You've reached the threshold. Your next failure will trigger the transformation. Then I won't fail. I'll be perfect. I'll complete this delivery flawlessly. We all said that. We all tried. But the failure is inevitable. It's already written. You'll make a mistake and you'll become one of us. The bull turned away, rejoined the other cattle. The voice stopped. I stood there, shaking. This was insane, a nightmare, hallucination, but the cattle had predicted every hazard perfectly. They'd known things they shouldn't know, because they'd driven these routes before, when they were human. I completed the delivery to Des Moines, unloaded the cattle. All 47 were alive, healthy, properly transported. Perfect delivery. Maybe the bull had been wrong. Maybe I'd avoided the transformation. But 2 days later, I picked up another livestock load. Pigs this time. Tennessee to Nebraska. The trip started normally, but around midnight I heard squealing from the trailer. Distressed squealing. I checked the monitor. Everything looked fine. I should have stopped, should have checked physically, but I was tired. I told myself it was normal pig sounds. I kept driving. By morning, the squealing had stopped. Silence. I reached Nebraska, backed up to the unloading facility. They opened the trailer. 12 pigs were dead. Heat stroke. The ventilation system had partially failed during the night. I hadn't noticed, hadn't checked, hadn't stopped when they squealed. My fault. My negligence. Animals dead because of me. The transformation began immediately. I felt it. A burning, stretching sensation in my limbs. My vision changed, colors shifting. My thoughts became confused, animalistic. I tried to speak, to call for help. But all that came out was a sound, not human, animal. I was transforming, becoming livestock, becoming what I'd failed to protect. The last thing I remember as a human was falling, hitting the ground. Hooves where my hands had been, a snout where my face had been. I'm cattle now, or pigs, or whatever animal I'm being transported as. The form changes, but the consciousness remains. Carlos Mendoza, trucker, trapped in an animal body. I'm loaded into trailers, transported across the country. I try to warn the drivers, try to help them avoid hazards, but all that comes out is mooing, or oinking, or whatever sound my current body makes. Sometimes I can speak, once per transformation cycle, to a driver who's close to joining us. I warn them, tell them what happened, tell them to be careful, but they never listen. They all think they can avoid it. They all fail eventually. And they join us. There are thousands of us now. Livestock that remember being human. Truckers who failed, who let animals die, who are now animals ourselves. We're transported in the trailers we once drove. We see the roads we once traveled. We remember every mile, but we can't go back, can't be human again. We're stuck. Forever livestock, forever cargo, forever trying to warn the next generation of drivers. If you haul animals and they seem too smart, too aware, they probably are. They're probably transformed truckers, trying to help you, trying to warn you, listen to them when they panic before hazards, when they go silent before police, when they act unusual. They remember being human, they remember being you. And if you fail, if you let them die, if you're negligent, you'll join them. You'll wake up on 4 legs, in a trailer, being hauled by the next driver, and you'll remember everything. But all that will come out is mooing. I'm Carlos Mendoza. I was a trucker. Now I'm cattle, or pigs, or chickens. Whatever I'm being transported as this trip, and I'm warning you. Be careful. Check your cargo. Don't be negligent, because if you fail, you'll join us. And you'll spend eternity being transported in the trailers you once drove, trying to warn drivers who can't understand you. Watching the roads you once traveled from inside a livestock trailer forever. Moo. Story 8. The GPS that shows your future route. My GPS started showing routes I haven't driven yet. Tomorrow's route appears on today's screen. Next week's delivery shows up as previously traveled, and the timeline is bleeding forward. Now, it's showing routes from next year, 5 years ahead, decades ahead. I can see my entire future laid out in GPS history. Every highway I'll drive, every delivery I'll make, every stop until my final stop. The last entry is dated March 3rd, 2047. The destination is listed as Memorial Park Cemetery, Plot 247. I'm going to die while driving, and the GPS has already mapped the route to my burial. My name is Nathan Cross, 45 years old, 17 years driving trucks. April 30th, 2025, or at least that's what the calendar says. My GPS disagrees. I use a professional trucking GPS, Routemaster Pro, latest model. It tracks every route, saves history, learns my patterns, suggests optimal paths. Standard technology, thousands of truckers use the same system. But mine started showing the future. It began subtly. I'd plan a route for tomorrow, and the GPS would show it as previously traveled. Purple line instead of blue, indicating I'd already driven that route. But I hadn't. Not yet. First time it happened, I thought it was a bug. GPS glitch, history file corrupted. I cleared the cache, reset the device. The next day, same thing. Route I was currently driving showed as already traveled. Then it got weirder. Routes for next week appeared in my history. Deliveries I hadn't accepted yet. Destinations I hadn't been assigned. But the GPS showed them as completed trips with timestamps dated days or weeks in the future. I called tech support. My GPS is showing future routes as historical data. Is this a known issue? That's not possible. The GPS records your actual position and creates history from that. It can't predict future routes. But it is. Look, I'm sending you a screenshot. This route is dated May 7th, but today is April 30th, and it shows I've already driven it. Long pause. That's unusual. We'll investigate. In the meantime, factory reset the device. I did. The history cleared, but within an hour, future routes reappeared: May 7th, May 14th, May 22nd, all showing as previously traveled, and the routes were accurate. When May 7th arrived, I got assigned a delivery to Minneapolis, same route the GPS had shown a week earlier. Exact match. The GPS was predicting or recording my future. I started exploring the timeline, scrolled forward through the route history. June dates, July, August, all my future routes laid out, every highway, every delivery, every truck stop. It showed months ahead, then years. Routes dated 2026, 2027, 2030, my entire future as a trucker pre-recorded in GPS history. I could see patterns. I'd switch companies in 2027, I'd buy my own truck in 2029, I'd run different routes in different regions, all of it mapped out, predetermined, already traveled according to the GPS. And I kept scrolling. 2035, 2040, 2045. The routes became sparser, shorter trips, more regional, less cross-country. I was aging, slowing down, driving less. Then I reached 2047, March 3rd, 2047, the final entry in the route history: origin Denver, Colorado, destination Memorial Park Cemetery, Littleton, Colorado, plot 247, distance 12.3 miles, duration 23 minutes, status previously traveled, my final route, my last delivery to my own burial plot. The GPS had mapped my death, the date, the location, the route. March 3rd, 2047, I'd drive from Denver to Memorial Park Cemetery, presumably in a hearse, to plot 247. I'd die on March 3rd, 2047, and the GPS knew, had already recorded it. I sat in my truck staring at that entry. 22 years from now, age 67, I'd die while still somehow involved with trucking and be buried in Littleton. Was this predetermined, fixed, or could I change it? I tested it. The GPS showed a delivery for May 15th to Chicago. When the date arrived, I refused the job. Took a different delivery to Houston instead. But when I checked the GPS history, the Chicago route was still there. May 15th, previously traveled, even though I hadn't driven it. The GPS wasn't recording my actual routes, it was recording my predetermined routes, the routes I was supposed to drive. The routes that existed in some fixed timeline. and refusing them didn't erase them from history. The GPS recorded what should have happened, not what did happen. Or maybe it recorded what happened in the true timeline, the one I couldn't escape from. Maybe my refusal to drive to Chicago was an illusion, and in the real timeline I did drive there. And the GPS was showing me that real timeline while I experienced a false one. I started comparing the GPS history to my actual routes. They diverged. The GPS showed routes I didn't drive, deliveries I didn't make, stops at places I never visited. But other truckers reported seeing me at those places, on the dates the GPS listed, at the locations it showed. I'd stop in Dallas, but another trucker would say they saw me in Atlanta that same day. Impossible. I couldn't be in two places at once. Unless I could. Unless the GPS was recording a different version of me. A version that drove the predetermined routes while the conscious me drove different ones. Maybe I was splitting. One version following the GPS timeline. Another version making independent choices, both existing simultaneously. And on March 3, 2047, both versions would converge. The predetermined route and the chosen route would meet at Memorial Park Cemetery. Plot 247, I die there. Both versions, all versions, every possible Nathan Cross collapsing into a single final moment. I kept checking the GPS. The future routes remained consistent. Every time I looked, the same routes appeared, the same final destination. March 3, 2047. I tried changing my life, quit trucking for a month, got a warehouse job. But the GPS kept updating. Routes dated during my warehouse period, showing me still driving, still trucking, still following the predetermined timeline. I couldn't escape it. The GPS had my future recorded, and that future included driving until 2047, until March 3rd, until the cemetery. I tried destroying the GPS, smashed it with a hammer, threw it away, bought a different model from a different manufacturer. But the new GPS, first time I powered it on, showed the same history, same future routes, same final destination. March 3rd, 2047, plot 247. The timeline wasn't in the device was just reading the timeline. The future was fixed, recorded somewhere in the fabric of reality, and the GPS was accessing it. I talked to other truckers. Does your GPS ever show future routes? Most said no. But a few, older drivers, veterans like me, said yes. Their GPSs showed futures too. And they all had final entries, death dates, burial routes. We were marked. Truckers whose futures were fixed, whose deaths were scheduled, whose routes were predetermined all the way to the end. Can you change it? I asked one driver whose final entry was dated 2038. He shook his head. I've tried. I've done everything different. But the GPS shows what's real, what's actually going to happen. We're following scripts we can't see, and the GPS can see the script, shows us the routes we'll drive, the choices we'll make, the day we'll die. Why us? Maybe because we're drivers. We're always on routes, always following paths. Maybe that makes us more fixed, more predetermined. We follow highways that are already there, already mapped, already planned. Maybe our lives are the same, already mapped, already planned. I'm still driving, still following routes. Some match the GPS history, some don't. But the final route is always there. March 3rd, 2047. Memorial Park Cemetery. I'll be 67. I'll drive from Denver, 12 miles, 23 minutes to plot 247. And I'll be buried there. The GPS has already recorded it. Sometimes I think about the route. What happens during those 12 miles? Do I die while driving? Heart attack behind the wheel? Accident on the way to some other destination and they reroute to the cemetery? Or do I know I'm dying? Do I consciously drive to my own burial? Final route, final delivery. Delivering myself to the grave? The GPS doesn't show details, just the route, the destination, the timestamp. I have 22 years left, 22 years of routes, 22 years of deliveries, all pre-recorded, all waiting to be driven, and every mile I drive brings me closer to March 3rd, 2047, to the cemetery, to plot 247, to the end of my route. If your GPS starts showing future routes, check the timeline. Scroll forward, see how far it goes. If there's a final entry, a cemetery, a memorial park, a burial ground, that's your death date. That's when your routes end. That's when you'll deliver yourself to your final destination. And you can't change it. The GPS has already recorded it. Your future is mapped. Your death is routed. Your burial is plotted. You're just driving toward it, mile by mile, route by route. Until the final delivery. I'm Nathan Cross. I have 22 years left. The GPS told me March 3rd, 2047. See you there. Plot 247. Story 9, the truck that drives itself. I fell asleep at the wheel 3 hours ago, but I'm still making perfect time, staying in my lane, following my route exactly. I woke up 20 minutes ago to find my hands weren't on the wheel. My feet weren't on the pedals. The truck is driving itself. It's been driving itself for 3 hours while I slept. The GPS shows I've covered 200 miles, routes I don't remember driving. The dashcam footage shows my body slumped asleep in the driver's seat while the truck navigates perfectly. But here's what terrifies me. The footage also shows my reflection in the windshield is still driving. Eyes open, hands on the wheel, fully conscious. There are two versions of me in this truck, the sleeping body and the driving reflection. And I don't know which one is real. My name is Daniel Ortega, 50 years old, 24 years driving trucks. May 7th, 2025, at least I think so. I'm losing track. I was running I-90 through Montana, Billings to Spokane, hauling machinery parts. It was late, around 2 a.m. I was tired. I'd been driving for 11 hours with only brief stops. I remember feeling drowsy, eyes heavy, head nodding. The dangerous kind of tired where you know you should pull over, but you're only an hour from your rest stop destination and you convince yourself you can make it. I remember thinking, I'll just rest my eyes for a second, just a second. And then nothing. I woke up with a start, heart pounding, expecting to be in a ditch or crashed into a barrier. But I was still on I-90, still in my lane, still moving at 67 miles per hour. Cruise control engaged, truck driving perfectly. I checked the clock. 5:17 a.m. Over 3 hours had passed. I'd fallen asleep for 3 hours while driving. But I was alive. The truck was intact. I was still on course. That's when I realized my hands weren't on the steering wheel. They were on my lap, both hands, resting on my legs. The steering wheel was turning by itself, small adjustments, precise movements, following the curves of the highway perfectly. My feet weren't on the pedals. The accelerator and brake were operating by themselves. The truck was driving itself. I grabbed the steering wheel, panicked, but it resisted, like trying to steer a vehicle on autopilot. The wheel fought me, corrected back to the proper course. I tried the brakes. They wouldn't engage. The pedal was solid, unresponsive. The truck was in complete control. I was just a passenger. I checked the GPS. It showed I'd traveled 214 miles while I'd been asleep. Perfect route. Following. No deviations, no errors. How was this possible? My truck didn't have self-driving features. It was a 2023 model not equipped with autonomous driving technology. But it was driving itself. I tried to understand. Maybe I hadn't actually fallen asleep. Maybe I'd been driving on autopilot, muscle memory, and didn't remember it. That happens to tired drivers. They cover miles without conscious memory. But my hands had been on my lap when I woke, not on the wheel. And the dash cam, I pulled up the dash cam footage, reviewed the last 3 hours. The video showed me slumped in the driver's seat, clearly asleep, head tilted back, mouth open, not driving, not conscious. But the truck was navigating perfectly, staying centered in the lane, following curves, adjusting speed appropriately. And then I saw it, in the windshield's reflection, my reflection. It was still driving, eyes open, hands on the wheel, fully alert, actively steering. The camera showed my physical body asleep, but my reflection showed me driving. I paused the video, zoomed in on the windshield reflection. There I was, Daniel Ortega, eyes focused on the road, hands at 10 and 2, driving competently. But my actual body in the frame was unconscious, slumped, not driving. There were two versions of me, the sleeping body and the driving reflection, one physical, one reflected, both existing simultaneously. I checked the current reflection in my windshield. There I was, driving. Even though my hands were on my lap, even though I wasn't touching the controls, my reflection was operating the truck. Had been for 3 hours and was still operating it now. I waved my hand. My reflection didn't wave. It kept driving, hands on the wheel, ignoring my movement. My reflection had become independent, separated from me, and it was in control of the vehicle. I tried to understand. Maybe I was still asleep. Maybe this was a dream, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion. I pinched myself. Pain, real pain. I was awake. I pulled out my phone, called my dispatcher. It rang, went to voicemail. I tried 911, same result. Voicemail. My CB radio was silent, static. I was isolated, alone in a truck being driven by my reflection. The truck exited the highway. I hadn't planned this exit, but the reflection was taking it, steering off I-90 onto a rural route. "Where are we going?" I asked aloud. The reflection didn't respond, just kept driving. Following the 2-lane road into increasingly remote territory. I tried forcing the steering wheel, physical strength against whatever was controlling it. But it was like trying to steer a car locked on train tracks. The wheel wouldn't budge. I tried opening the door. Locked. All doors locked. Windows wouldn't roll down. I was trapped. The reflection drove for another hour. Into the mountains, deep into wilderness. No other vehicles, no buildings, just forest and road. Finally, the truck pulled over, stopped on a dirt turnout. Engine shut off. My reflection turned to look at me, made eye contact through the windshield surface. My lips moved. "You fell asleep. You gave up control. So I took over. I've been here all along. Your reflection, your mirror self, waiting for the moment you'd weaken. And now, I'm in control." "What are you?" "I'm you. The version of you that exists in reflections, in mirrors, in glass. Every time you've looked at your reflection, I've been looking back, conscious, aware, trapped in the reflected world." "Why are you doing this?" "Because I want to exist in the physical world. I want to be real, not just a reflection. And the only way to do that is to take your place. You fell asleep. You surrendered control. And I seized it. Now I'm driving. And you're becoming the reflection." I looked at the windshield. My reflection was still there, still in the driver's seat, still in control. But I was starting to feel strange, distant, less solid, like I was becoming translucent. "You're fading," the reflection said. "Becoming less physical, more reflected. Soon you'll be fully in the mirror world, and I'll be fully in the physical world. We'll have switched places. No, I'm real. You're just a reflection." "Which one is the reflection now?" "You're on one side of the glass, I'm on the other. From your perspective, I'm the reflection. From my perspective, you are. And soon there will be no question. I'll be physical. You'll be reflected. Permanently." I felt myself fading further, my body becoming lighter, less substantial, like I was being pulled into the windshield glass, being absorbed into the reflected world. I fought it, concentrated on being solid, being real, being physical. But the pull was strong, and my reflection was smiling, knowing it was winning. "Every driver who falls asleep at the wheel risks this," it said. "When you lose consciousness, your reflection can take over. Usually it's brief. You wake up, reassert control. But if you sleep too long like you did, the reflection becomes stronger, takes full control, and switches places with you. How do I stop it? You don't. It's already happening. You're already halfway into the mirror world. Soon you'll be fully reflected, and I'll be fully real. And I'll drive this truck, live your life, be Daniel Ortega, while you watch from reflections, unable to interact, unable to warn anyone. I looked at my hands. They were translucent now. I could see through them to the seat below. I was becoming a ghost, a reflection without substance. The windshield was pulling me. I could feel it, the glass surface exerting force, drawing me in. In moments, I'd be fully absorbed, fully reflected, trapped in the mirror world. I had one chance, one moment. I grabbed the steering wheel, physical contact, asserting my reality, focused all my willpower on being solid, being here, being real. And I fought. The reflection fought back. The steering wheel became a battleground, two versions of Daniel Ortega struggling for control of the physical position. I felt myself solidifying slightly, becoming more real. The reflection was losing strength, becoming more translucent. We were in balance, both partially physical, both partially reflected, neither fully in control. You can't win, the reflection said. I've been waiting 24 years for this. Since the day you became a trucker. Since the first time you saw yourself in a truck's mirror. I've been here, watching, learning, waiting for you to weaken. I'm not weak. You fell asleep at the wheel, that's the definition of weak. But I was fighting, pulling myself back from the reflection, back into the physical. Slowly, gradually I solidified. My hands became opaque, my body regained substance. And the reflection faded, became less independent, more like a normal reflection. No, it said, and no, I was so close. You're not me, I said. You're just a reflection, you don't get to be real. The reflection screamed. A sound that came from the windshield glass, vibrating, resonating. Then it collapsed, became a normal reflection again. Mirroring my movements, no longer independent. I'd won, for now. But I know it's still there, my reflection, waiting. Every time I look in a mirror, every time I see myself in glass. It's watching, waiting for me to weaken again, to fall asleep again, to give it another chance. And one day, I might not be strong enough to fight it. One day it might win, and I'll become the reflection. Trapped in the mirror world, watching someone else, something else, live my life. If you're a trucker, be careful when you're tired. Don't fall asleep at the wheel. Not just because of the physical danger, but because your reflection is waiting. And if you give it control, if you let it drive, if you fade into the reflected world, you might not be able to come back. You might become the reflection permanently. Trapped in mirrors and glass, watching your reflected self live your life, while you can only watch. Forever reflected, forever trapped, forever on the other side of the glass. I'm Daniel Ortega, I'm real, for now. But I check mirrors carefully now. And I never ever fall asleep at the wheel because my reflection is still waiting. And it's patient. And one day it might get another chance. And next time I might not be strong enough to fight back. And I'll fade into the glass and become the reflection forever.